Hi, how are you, everyone? It's so nice to see you. I am Candace, the coach here at Soul Cadence Coaching and author and mama. And around here, we talk about creativity, motherhood, fulfillment, all in the lens of chronic illness. So I'm glad you're here. Today, I get to bring you another wonderful Maven Monday. Now, this will be a once a month thing typically. I just brought it back this month, but I wanted to squeeze in a special one before her Kickstarter ended at the end of June. And so I interviewed a friend of mine named Rachel, who has this great business that she is running called History in Skirts. Unfortunately, that interview did not record. Yay, technology. So I have notes from that interview because I do want the world to know about what she is doing. And so I'm going to, through this little video, introduce you to her. If you didn't read this month's original Maven Monday about Lindsay Puckett, the author and author tuber, go check it out on the blog. I haven't done a video summary of it yet. That was a written interview. So go check out the blog. It's on there. Lindsay is fantastic. I love this Maven Monday series because I get to talk about women who are rocking what they do, even while carrying some sort of physical or mental chronic illness, and how they work around those flare days, things like that. So go check that out. Today, though, we're talking about my friend Rachel Ellis. And Rachel is from West Virginia, and she is just so lovely. But she is starting a business or running a business called History in Skirts. And right now they're in the middle of their Kickstarter campaign. And her heart behind it, I really wish you could hear in her words. It's amazing. But what it is it's a way that she can bring history alive for others, about women in history and the role that they've held. Apparently, my note cards got a little all out of whack. So give me a second. Anyway, so History in Skirts is all about the idea of bringing history alive through the eyes of women in history. And her story, it was so funny. She was talking about how, she's been running a business for several years. She's also had this chronic diagnosis for several years. And she was trying to think of how to make some extra cash. And she thought, well, I majored in theater. I know people make money being princesses at parties, and maybe I could go do that. But then she told a teacher friend of hers, if you want someone to dress up like Jane Austen and come do a reading when you guys are reading Jane Austen and talk about her life, I'm willing to do that. And the friend told her, well, we don't really read a lot of female authors, which as an author, that's scary, first of all. But second of all, it just shows how much we kind of need something like this for students. So Rachel kind of formulated this idea, kind of put it all together, and then she's been slowly building it up ever since. So she does run her own business while being a mom of 2 littles. I believe her kids are 5 and under, and she runs her business. Her husband works, and she stays home with her kids. And she's also a freelance journalist. So she's a fellow writer, a fellow Spoonie, and we kind of connected with that because we both have a ministry background. And so we've connected on a lot of fronts in that. But with History in Skirts, her vision is to go to fairs and schools and events and teach with presentations that actually come alive, using her theater background, using her writing background, bringing these things alive. If it's an author, reading their works as themselves, answering questions. And it's a beautiful thing. So she's creating her costumes or ordering them from small makers on Etsy, pieces that she might need. She supports other small businesses. So it's fantastic. And as we were talking, I wanted to know like how it started and what she hoped to do with it. So she told that story about being a princess at a party, which I thought was really funny. And her vision is something that I so resonate with. So eventually the goal for her is to get this to be a nonprofit. But for right now, it is under the umbrella of her business, and she is already making these presentations. Kids are already connecting to it. And so I got a chance to talk to her, and obviously this video is going to be a lot shorter than the interview I did with her, and it's not going to be kind of as like in depth. I really want to encourage you guys though, if you're connecting with any of this, if you're thinking, oh, that's a really cool idea, or you want to see it in action, all of her links will be below. You can go follow her YouTube and her Instagram and see this all come to life. It's been awesome. But we did talk about what it's been like to run a business as a mom, with, getting this business off the ground and being a mom of 2 young kids, as well as someone who struggles with chronic illness. So that comes with flare-up days and things like that. And so she and I both talked about knowing your limits, and she made some really good points about knowing your expectations for yourself. What do you expect yourself to get done, and have they changed? So when we talked about how chronic illness has impacted her life, these expectations have had to change. She told me a story that really resonated with me as a kind of overachieving go-getter of a person, that it kind of forced her to slow down a little bit, to rethink her expectations of herself, and to change the parameters. Not really change her personality, but change the parameters. So if she still wants to get 6 things done in a day, then she needs to make them all things that are doable in that day. And I thought that was really important, because that's also going to help us with disappointment. We as creatives can kind of get started on a project and get so swept up in it, we can spend like hours doing it. And those of us who are chronically ill might regret that the next day. We might find that that has wiped us out or caused us to not be able to get up and respond. And that leads into the next point that she made, which was recognizing that this doesn't just affect us, which most of us are acutely aware of that, as we feel like we have burdened the people around us. But she said she has to remind herself, and it was a really good reminder for me as well, that if we push ourselves too hard, our kids might have to deal with the consequences of that as well, or our partners, or our parents, or whoever steps in to help us pick up some of the load. Now, for some of us, that load gets adjusted, and undoubtedly for her as well, the load has been adjusted. But even the load that we do carry can further disintegrate if we're not careful, and that can affect the people around us, even insofar as our kids. And so we've kind of talked about how our kids don't quite know the difference. They like to just hang out with mom and sleep in bed with mom, or play with mom on the floor or the couch or whatever. But it does affect them to an extent, when we're unable to step in and do what we're normally able to do, what they've seen us do. So changing her expectations, and knowing her limits, she said, was really important. And then we moved into talking about what advice she would give to other moms who are creative, who either have new symptoms, new diagnoses, who are wanting to start this creative business. They've had this dream on their heart, or they're wanting to start a ministry. She and I both worked in ministry. My husband and I are planting a church, and that looks radically different than we thought it would, thanks to my developing chronic illnesses. If we were only dealing with the ones I had from childhood, oh well. And so I asked her, like, what would you say? Because this business for her started after her diagnosis, as she's learning and growing. Um, and she reminded that it takes time. So she is 4 or 5 years, she said, past her diagnosis, where they found out what things were and what was going wrong. Shortly after she had her son, some of the symptoms got really severe. So if this is new diagnosis or new symptoms, she reminded that it takes time. Rachel said, you learn your patterns, you learn what you need over time, and those first year or two can be rough, and I fully agree with her. But she mentioned that changing your expectations, once again, that came up a lot in our conversation. Change your expectations. We pre-illness or pre-diagnosis or pre-mental health struggle think that we have a certain ability, a certain caliber, a certain way of doing things. And when those things come, it's just shifting that a little bit. But then she said something that I found really encouraging that I hope you will too. She said, you can do everything. You just can't do everything all at once. And I thought that was a really good way to look at it. I don't know that I still feel like I can do everything. And I have limited what I do, actually. And we've talked about that a little in the blog, on the channel, and on my Instagram. But it was a good perspective to have. And it led into her next point, which was maybe change how you do everything. Maybe you don't have to do everything the way you thought you did. Maybe it'll look different. And she brought up this example of when her son was born and she couldn't play the piano as much anymore. She couldn't paint as much anymore because he needed her as a mom, and he needed, through his rough periods or periods where he just needed her more, which is understandable. For those of us moms, we get that. So she said she started line drawing, just a pen and paper, teaching herself to draw. And from there, when she got her iPad, she started doing art digitally on her iPad. And now she has a new office with place for studio. And that's something else we connected on. That's something that I talk to people on my blog, my Instagram, the YouTube about, is changing how you do things. So I recently got the iPad as well. And I had written off painting because the painting that I used to like to do, I just physically can't, at least not in this time of my life. And a point she made, like with little kids, it's just too messy. Like they're going to get the paints everywhere or what have you. And I have the same problem because I have 2 toddlers. So change the way you expect to do it. Maybe if you're an artist, switch to digital where it's maybe easier on your hands, or find tools that can help you do it a little differently. So her point of you can do everything, you just can't do it all at once, and finding new ways to do things just really struck me. So I'm going to start incorporating that into what I talk to people about, because we really, if we're willing to see ourselves as such, we are really more capable than we realize sometimes. And if you watch this video, or you read the write-up about my interview with Rachel, or you read my conversation with Lindsay, or you go back and watch my conversation with Natalie, you'll see a common thread is offering yourself grace, giving yourself a chance to recognize that it doesn't always have to be perfect. It doesn't always have to be done right this second. You can outsource things that maybe you don't have the ability to do, or you don't have the energy to do, and you find ways to conserve your spoons. So the final question that I asked her, something that I really wanted my readers of my blog and the watchers of originally our interview, but now this video, is how you guys can support her. So she is a small business all on her own, and she does have a Kickstarter going. Now, if you're watching this video when it goes up or the week it goes up, she does have a Kickstarter open that will be open until June 26th. I was going to look at my camera for the calendar, but that's what I'm filming on. It'll be this Saturday, June 26th of 2021. And it is an all or nothing Kickstarter. It's not a donations Kickstarter. So it's all or nothing. If she doesn't hit the goal, then, that's it. That's not going to stop her from doing this thing that she's doing. But it will go a long way in helping her with period costumes and materials to market herself. As we get further into summer and closer to the school year, that is prime time for her to start building up marketing. So that Kickstarter will help with those things. So that link will be below. So if you're watching this while this Kickstarter is still going on, and you want to give towards this amazing cause, towards this bringing history alive for young people, about women in history and what they've done. And a lot of the women she's chosen are fellow creatives. They are fellow, women who were kind of ahead of their time in certain things. She's also chosen a few who have chronic illnesses themselves. And I think that's fantastic. So, again, if you're watching this the week it goes up, June 21st through the 26th, the Kickstarter link will be below. Anytime after that, or even this week, she does have merch available. Some of it is, I've seen some of it, I haven't seen all of it. So I can't speak to all of it, but I can speak to what I've seen. It's super cute. She's put some of her design work into practice. I will be buying a t-shirt eventually as well. So I will be buying a t-shirt and supporting her like crazy. So she has a merch store that will be down below, and all her social media, including her Instagram and YouTube, will be down below. I can't wait till she starts creating videos. It's going to be fantastic. And I think once we start homeschooling, I will be using some of those for my daughter and my son. So I'll have all of her links below, as well as a link to the blog post for this. But go support her. Go check out her Kickstarter if it's that first week, June 21st through 26th of 2021. Go buy some merch. Go show her some love on Instagram and YouTube. Go subscribe. Let's support this fellow creative Spoonie mama who is doing so much to bring history alive for others. And yeah, that's really all I can say. So with that, I am glad that you're here. I'm glad to have you watching this video, and I will talk to you all soon. Okay, bye friends.